Hello and welcome to Today in Short, an IPI podcast that brings complex issues down to their essence. Today we'll focus on the report that we just launched on the state of press freedom in Slovenia. And to help me with that, I have next to me Jamie Wiseman, IPI's Europe Advocacy Officer and the author of the report. Hi Jamie.
Hi Javier.
In a few words, basically in short, what are the main challenges for press freedom in Slovenia?
Well, I think over the last 14 months, we've seen a real deterioration in media freedom and media pluralism in Slovenia. The key element here, I think, has been the real kind of coordinated and calculated campaign against the Slovenian press agency by the government of Janez Janša, who's returned for a third administration. The STA is really the lifeblood of the Slovenian media market, but for the last 6 months, it's been left without any state funding, putting it in a really financially precarious position. And we believe that this campaign is really aimed at cementing greater control of government over the press agency. Meanwhile, we've seen a real increase in smears and attempts to discredit, demean, and undermine critical journalism. This has involved really kind of personalized smears from public officials, including the Prime Minister, against individual journalists and against mainstream media in general, with critics lambasted and criticized as publishing fake news or as liars who are kind of presenting a really biased opinion of the country and the government. I think meanwhile, we've also seen attempts by the government and particularly the ruling Slovenian Democratic Party to discredit mainstream media, to pressure editorial newsrooms to reduce and limit challenging coverage, while at the same time amplifying pro-government media and kind of channeling state resources and funding into a kind of a network of propaganda media which have been established and retain very close links to the government. In the backdrop then, we have kind of pre-existing issues of media ownership, transparency, and kind of political influence over the media landscape, which have remained since independence in Slovenia and still pose problems that are in much of need of reform to this day.
And what can be done to improve the situation?
Well, the challenges in Slovenia are very complex and multifaceted, and I think the remedies to these situations are just the same. I think the most important thing is that the STA has its funding reinstated in a sustainable and proportional manner as soon as possible. I think we need to see much greater kind of compromise from the Government Communication Office, which has been leading the attack on the STA. There's an agreement signed that would kind of reinstate the funding. But it's essential that the conditions for this deal are fair and bring back funding for the STA as soon as possible so that it can restart and continue its public service mission. At the same time, I think we really need to see a reduction in hostility and toxic rhetoric by public officials towards journalists, which have been leading to a lot of self-censorship and really kind of increasing the amount of online harassment of journalists online, particularly female journalists. And I think underlying this is the need for the government to engage in a constructive manner with criticism from both media freedom organizations, but then also European institutions themselves. So far, all reports, criticism, and attempts to kind of have an engagement or a dialogue with the government have been dismissed, with the European Commissioner for Human Rights at the Council of Europe dismissed as a part of a fake news network. So this rhetoric is also really undermining any constructive engagement. I think this manner of dealing with criticism and the concerns that we've outlined in our report really should be of concern to the European Union and to the European Union's leaders as Slovenia takes over the presidency.
And that was my next question. Why did we publish then the report yesterday on Wednesday, June 30th?
Well, the report was published one day before Slovenia takes over the rotating presidency of the European Union. It's taking over amidst widespread concern from media freedom groups, civil society, newsrooms, and other European institutions about media freedom, and what we see as a kind of a clear attempt to undermine and push down independent and critical media.
And just to wrap up, who is behind this report?
Well, the report was drafted by the International Press Institute in cooperation with the European Federation of Journalists, and we were leading the mission to Slovenia, which was carried out in the end of May in the beginning of June 2021 with the Slovenian Journalists Association. The mission was carried out by the Media Freedom Rapid Response, and a lot of other partners from the coalition joined, including other organizations such as Reporters Without Borders and the European Broadcasting Union. During the mission, we met a number of different stakeholders, including journalists, editors, but then also government officials, people from the Ministry of Culture as well, to kind of meet with as broad a spectrum as possible. And the report that we published yesterday really summarizes and concludes our findings from that mission.
Thank you very much for your time, Jamie.
Thanks a lot.
So this has been Today in Short. If you want to go in depth into the situation of press and of the situation and the state of press freedom in Slovenia, you can visit our website ipi.media, where you will find the report. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel IPI Podcasts for more on independent media and press freedom around the world. Thank you very much for tuning in, and see you next time.